Okay. Good evening, Belchertown. Welcome to the January 14th, 2025 meeting of your planning board. We've got a very limited schedule tonight. We're going to try to set the record for having the shortest meeting at the planning board. I don't know if we'll make it or not. We've got two A&Rs to review, which are minor subdivision reviews. Somebody has a piece of land that's being divided or being put back together again and changing the lot lines. And the planning board needs to sign off on it. We'll have any additions with consent of the members, any discussion items. Minutes, it says bills, but I see no bills here. The town planner report, and then we'll have our individual member reports. We don't have anything time for these two A&Rs, but we don't have any other business, so let's just move right to the first one, which is Aldrich Street for LaFleur and Sons. How many times have we been on Aldrich Street, moving lot lines around for the O'Briens and LaFleurs? This might be the last one.
Yeah, it might be. I don't think there's much left.
If there's any property left to move, we'll just have to keep moving rehashing the lines and moving them around again. All right, my head is spinning. What are we doing? Well, give us the big picture.
The big picture is parcel C, the triangle, becomes its own little stranded piece. The next one, parcel D, is kind of weird. It has 40 feet of frontage, goes back, gets narrow, gets really narrow, and then goes around the circle.
B.
That was D.
D is in David.
D.
E.
Oh, I see D. Yeah, okay.
E
all right.
includes the circle.
E is going to become
E.
it's its own parcel?
No. E is like this.
He has got frontage,
Oh, I see E. All right. It's like a half circle.
Yeah.
comes to here, comes up to here, over, and then to the frontage.
Yep. And then the other one is F.
F, this
Over to the right.
triangular-ish.
Got it?
And when you said these were likely to be divvied up, does that mean that eventually F will become part of
I
this?
would, that's my guess,
Yeah.
but the neighbors might wanna just have those and have them.
It's got enough land for a building lot, but not enough frontage. It's on 20 feet of frontage.
Yeah.
So Jeremy Burns or Ashley and Kevin Brooks, either one might be interested in purchasing F in order to expand
Yeah.
what they own.
So, the only thing I'm not understanding is this. So, E is. And stops, or is there like, oh, it stops here. Okay, so we've got a mirror image of it.
Well, no, this side includes the circle.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So the dashed line is just the
fall zone.
So prior to this, C, D, and E and F were a single parcel.
C, D, E, and F.
Yeah, they probably were.
Yeah.
They've changed these things so many
Right.
times.
C,
I can't
D,
remember.
E, and F. So that was one parcel now, which was 21.06, and it's going to be subdivided into C, D, E, and F.
Right.
4 non-buildable lots.
4 non-buildable lots, yeah.
Do we know why they're doing this?
Originally, way back, the neighbors didn't want houses built behind them, so they convinced LaFleur that, that they might wanna have the land, so that's why I'm guessing that the neighbors are probably gonna pick these pieces up.
But the business of isolating parcel E was for
The tower?
the tower.
Yeah, O'Brien's gonna keep the ownership of that.
And
so
lease it to,
collect the rent, yeah.
I'm looking at the notes, and under 8, it says parcel E, which is where the tower is. Remaining land of Michael and Vicky also includes parcel B from another plan, which is to be acquired from Jeffrey and Melissa Martins. They haven't acquired it?
So that,
Oh, this triangle
that
here,
little corner.
this triangle.
That little corner
Yeah,
They haven't,
is owned by the Martins, and the Martins are transferring it?
so that is parcel B,
yeah, that little
this,
corner.
this little
That's
piece.
B.
okay.
So part of B is gonna become part of E.
Yes.
No,
No,
it's
part
gonna
of
become
D.
part of D.
I'm sorry. Part of E is gonna become part of D.
That's
Yeah.
the stuff
Yeah.
around the circle,
So
to the
we're
half.
changing parcel,
No,
B.
you changed that.
We did that a while ago.
Yeah.
that's what, I thought so.
Yeah, that got
Then
changed.
why is it, they say it's to be acquired?
Well, he hasn't bought it yet.
Under the notes, that's listed as parcel E. Parcel E also includes parcel B, which is to be acquired. The note above it, parcel D as in David, has at the end, see also parcel B on page and book. So why would parcel E be acquiring something out of the
Yeah,
middle
because
of
that,
D?
that little triangle is being split between E and D.
All of that line. You know, I think he's right.
Oh,
Ah,
so parcel B used to be,
Squared off.
and then they got that, and this part of it
Yep. It's going to E.
is going to E, and the rest of it is going to D.
Yep.
And we're talking inches.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are the Martins part of this transfer?
No, because that's already been cut off.
Because that's already been transferred.
Yeah.
unless
Then
they're,
why does it say it's to be transferred?
Because this, okay, so they took that off and it became part of this bigger piece.
Right.
And I think that note indicates that this corner is gonna be staying with that, and then the rest of it goes with that.
So there is no additional transfer from the Martins.
No,
There's
they're
no
done.
to be acquired from the Martins.
Then why does it say to be acquired?
Well,
Because it's, that note is not accurate then. Could-
unless they're saying that the Martins are gonna buy D, but
No,
No.
and there's no out below, no insert, is there?
So, I think these people have already conveyed to O'Brien.
I thought that we did an A and R before
Yeah,
to
you did.
create that, so that's not being altered, that's just referring to an existing piece of property that was previously parceled out by another A and R,
Yeah.
but maybe had not been transferred until this, till this,
That's how I read that.
So
They
it's
haven't
still-
conveyed it yet.
it's still pending. That's why they're saying it's to be acquired.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they're saying parcel F in 9, land of the O'Briens, to be conveyed and combined with land of Jeremy Burns, this guy.
Okay, so,
To be conveyed and combined.
Oh,
So,
so that is, so parcel F is not gonna be standalone, it's gonna become a
It's-
part of
right.
Jeremy Burns' property.
eventually, yeah.
yeah, which kinda makes me wonder
And-
if this is gonna
Indicate that.
go with that guy.
With parcel F as an example, that's more information than we need
Yeah,
to
Yeah.
determine whether or not a subdivision regulation needs to be applied.
correct.
I'm just
With-
trying to
with
make sure that
parcel
everybody,
E, right, with parcel E though, if it in fact is land that has not yet been acquired, then,
Can't do that.
then do they have to sign this A&R as well? If the Martins still own that land,
Then they have to join, they're proposing joint ownership of,
if it's to be acquired, that implies that they still own the land. If they still own the land, then they need to be a party to the A&R.
If they do, yeah, but I'm looking at the assessor's map right now, and they show that as already belonging to O'Brien. That corner's been cut off.
so this may have been a copy and paste job from the notes of a previous,
That
And they
is
didn't
Yeah.
update the
they
notes.
didn't update the notes.
possible, yeah.
Or they didn't update, yeah, they didn't change the tense on 8.
Well, that might be, it's the same surveyor that's already been through
Yeah.
this a couple of times. They might have just
Pull
got
up
a
an old
little
map and try to
sloppy
clean it
about
up.
it and didn't update it. The part of this that bothers me is, one more time, we're messing around with the tower and what's around it, and we don't have Verizon as part of this. But we're not really changing the boundary
Except
of the
that's a lease.
parcel E either, are we?
Well, it looks as though
E is a new
parcel E
parcel.
is gonna have this weird curved shape,
E-
only to there, and then it's gonna be like that.
Yeah,
Right. E is a new parcel, but it is a parcel that entirely encompasses the leased area.
yeah.
So we're not changing the boundaries of the leased area for Verizon.
Yeah, because they're just leasing.
The circle anyway.
I-
So we're not changing, we're not affecting Verizon or the lease or the property that Verizon's lease is on.
Actually, the only thing that
They're
Verizon is leasing is that
square
box.
Is the box.
Is the box.
And the
And-
rights to have their tower fall.
And the rights to have their tower
Right.
fall, which is the reason why the circle
Yes.
got created to begin with when we were talking about this, is we wouldn't,
Right.
we weren't gonna let them have the tower fall on somebody else's property.
Correct. So they're leasing this, and they have essentially an easement to allow their tower to fall over within this circle.
I mean, this is,
Parcel E is not affecting that easement area or the leased area.
and their easement includes this access.
Yep.
Oh, now, Verizon's access to this has gotta cross 1, 2, 3, 4 different ownerships.
What?
Well,
It's,
Between
Not our problem.
Aldrich,
those are all
it's gotta
easements.
cross that property, that property, that property, and that property to get to their tower. But it's all subject to a utility easement.
Yeah, they have
Could they
an
create a new,
Yeah,
access road there? I mean, that would make,
I'm sure make everybody's
sense.
life a lot easier.
Probably why they have that set up, almost like a key.
Could be, because how else would that property be usable by anybody else?
totally,
Yeah.
It just, okay. I had to go through it again, because it's bothering me. The last time we got in here messing around with these property lines, there was no involvement of Verizon. And I still think Verizon has a legal property interest by their lease, because it's what they call a land lease. It is on a structure for a long, extended period of time, and it's filed in the public record. So even though they don't have fee ownership of it, they have a land lease ownership interest in that property, which I think really drags them into being a party to this.
didn't we discuss that with Tom Reedy at?
No, that was the other one up at Carl's.
That was up
Yeah,
at
but I thought
Carl's.
he was first interested in this one.
He was representing some of the neighbors.
He did, but he did say that, because he was representing one of the neighbors, it might have been Martin's, he did say that Verizon knew about it.
Yeah.
He did, when he was sitting here, and I said, well, as long as Verizon knows that this is happening, so they can step in and protect their interest if it's gonna be affected. I just wish we had the LaFleurs here to give us that same satisfaction. All right, I would think that, you know, there's a lease out there. If they're doing something that in any way abrogates that lease, that Verizon is well within its rights and as a commercial entity that's gonna protect its interest, we don't necessarily have to protect it for them. The only other thing that I wanted to comment on was, the LaFleurs are the applicant. The LaFleurs didn't sign the application. So, I mean, the O'Briens did, the owners. And we established that the Martins don't have to be a party, being owners of this thing, because all the rest of the land is controlled by the O'Briens, but the applicant didn't sign it.
You didn't, yep.
So, if the plan is otherwise in conformance, the locus is up in the upper left-hand corner, the address is in the lower right-hand corner. The notes, although we might question whether they're entirely accurate, do describe what's going on. And although this is a very busy plan, it does appear to conform. We could recommend that it be approved, but I don't want to approve it without the applicant signing it. So we could send this thing off back to the LaFleurs and tell them that if they don't want to wait to the next meeting, that we'll authorize a single signatory to dispose of it. If that sound okay to everybody?
That sounds good to
Cool
me.
with it?
As many as they've put in, though, I'm a little surprised that LaFleur would overlook the signature on this. You know?
I'm not.
Yeah, well, they were in a hurry. Everybody's in a hurry.
I'll second the concept of single signature.
All right, so I don't need to vote on a single signatory of that.
No.
No, just vote on the plan itself.
Okay, I'll make a motion then that, subject to conformance of the application and approval by the single signatory, that we approve the A&R for LaFleur and Son for map 248, lot 21.06, which is gonna be busted up into parcel C, D, E, and F.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Hoffler. Motion made and seconded. Further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll move it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show 500. So who's our single signatory now? Is that Brian?
Right now, right?
Mike now? Yeah. All right, Michael, when Mr. LaFleur
You got a deal.
gets around to signing this thing, and he's gonna sign it as LaFleur and Sons. He's an applicant as a corporation, he's gonna sign it as a corporation, okay?
We have a guest.
We've got a guest.
I'm not here for anything important, I just figured I would come and see what was going on.
Well, we don't have a lot of,
Our
anything
guest.
exciting.
Yes. Hi, Sarah.
Oh, hi,
This is our conservation
I'm
administrator.
Sarah, I'm the conservation person.
Swamp Cop.
Thank you. I was just leaving a Lakes Committee meeting, so I figured I would come and sit.
Good. Well, welcome.
Okay, we're gonna move on to Old Sawmill Road, and some of us have already seen this and discussed this, and it was going to be reviewed at the last meeting, but they didn't get the plans in. So this is the one that we had started to talk about, and now the plans are here. And Mr. Doug, if you could give us the 50,000 foot on this thing?
Presently, the big
Oh, no, here's an extra
part
one.
of a much larger property. The little semi-rectangle is its own little piece within that subdivision, and this just creates this big rectangle out of the big property, and just a little rectangle to make a building lot. That's actually relatively simple.
frontage for,
Yes.
Correct, to make it an estate lot.
Yeah, big lot, 7 acres
Sweet little spot.
for just one house.
Get away with all kinds of things.
Yeah, you could put a barn in and have chickens.
you're afraid of having chickens.
Or dig a pond and have ducks, a duck pond.
If you're worried about chickens having diseases, you can switch to ducks for a while.
Do they not count as birds?
Big fish,
They're amphibian birds.
river bird.
You don't see duck farms around here, but when I first went to work for the Department of Agriculture, I was down on Long Island, and they had a lot of duck farms still down there.
Really?
Yeah, of course, I don't think they have them anymore though, because they had them all on streams and things, and,
Oh,
you know, so they were really dirty. All that duck manure was going right out into the bay and stuff, and,
so is it for meat or eggs or both?
both. They'd have, you know, there'd be 6,000 duck operations, and
Wow.
pretty good, but they were concentrated, so when you go by, it was just like, it looked like a field
Must
of
have been
snow.
noisy.
All ducks.
Noisy.
All duck farms in the world. All right, I was looking at the application on this thing too, and it lists, the valleys, and they both signed it, and, the Rochellows.
But not green.
Why are
The
the-
Greens, Richard.
So Mr. Green is
He did,
on
yeah.
as a signatory too,
Yeah.
Yep,
So,
because he owns parcel H.
Yep.
And the Rochellows are gonna be on the property, who?
they own the big piece, the,
A1.
this lot's being cut out of.
Who are the valleys?
Valleys are the they're the ones who are going to get the new parcel for building their house.
Oh, Rochello owns it now,
Yeah.
correct.
and then the valleys are gonna be the new owners of the
New
property.
owners.
That's the gentleman that we
Yeah,
met when he
yeah,
stopped in
yes.
at the
Yeah,
office.
Rochelot owns it now, and Green owns it now.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Green
Green as the.
is not on the
developer.
front under number 2 as an owner, and I don't think he'll mind me writing his name in, just to perfect the application, so I'm gonna
Another
put
and there, so it's just.
Ian Richard Green.
So he's the owner of the little stump
Yep.
that's
Correct.
connecting it.
Oh, right, they just didn't put his name there, they have his address on it.
I'm sorry,
They have Green's address showing.
it's 91
8
Jansen?
Warner
No,
Street.
it's 8 Warner,
Yeah, they just don't have his name.
right here.
Below
Oh.
the line on
They
2.
did, but they didn't put his name. Well, I just wrote it in,
All right.
Yep.
and I'm sure Mr. Green is not gonna sue me or anything, just for fixing his application. We've got a locus in the upper right. We've got the applicant's name and address. Well,
So under note 1,
they've got it up under, in the upper left-hand corner, the name and address of the owners up there. Just not Green.
Remaining land of.
Remaining land of Ryan and Kayla Rochelot, yes, of 91 Jensen Street. That's, so the owner of the property is identified, except for Mr. Green, which is, he's written on there as a book and page.
yeah,
And Mr. Green is known to us, it's
Yep.
hopefully finishing up this subdivision once and for all.
Oh, subdivision is finished, yeah.
The adjoining property owners are all properly identified. The A&R appears to be in conformance. I'll make a motion that we approve the A&R for the Valleys, Rochelos, and Mr. Green for map 244-79 and 244-156.37, which are gonna be reconfigured as parcel 1. And, I'm sorry,
It's gonna be Estate Lot B.
it's gonna be Estate Lot B. It's 244-79, 244-156.37 is gonna be reconfigured as Estate Lot B. There it is. Can I get a second from somebody?
Second.
I s-
Seconded by Bjorn.
That's fine.
My hearing aids up turned higher. I got hearing aids now, so I don't have to ask people to speak up and translate for me. Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll move it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Record show 500, we're set to go. Oh. I should have had that letter signed. I should have the letter signed
any frontage on any street.
for
This will be the
Flora and
front.
Son, right?
That's not gonna meet the required frontage.
Because the senior signatory is just gonna sign the
Doesn't need-
map.
Well, if it-
This letter
For
is gonna be
estate lot?
signed by the senior, a single signatory
Yeah,
also.
typically what we've done, yeah. You can sign
Okay.
it.
So when you sign,
This, yeah, so
come
it's 50
in,
feet here.
remember to
it's
sign this thing
50
too.
quarters.
Jackie will take care of it.
I think that's,
Jackie is good like that.
Sorry.
Oh, you want collecting.
So they're good on that because of it being in state law.
yeah.
You already signed?
Yeah, I sent it down this way. And she's gone.
This is sometimes someone, brass band getting ready to.
That's our business. Doug, would you,
Do the minutes.
okay, we'll do the minutes before we move on. I have the minutes from December 17th, 2024, our only meeting in December. And these were previously circulated. So I'm assuming if anybody had any changes they wanted made, they got back to Jackie, but is there any further change or edit or revision that anybody wants to make tonight? Hearing none, make a motion, we approve the minutes of December 17th, 2024 as written. And I'll get a second out of Elizabeth. Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll move it to a vote. All in favor?
I
Aye, let the record show
I
500.
abstain.
Oh, let the record show 401. 410. 401.
401.
This doesn't have to be black, does it?
And here comes the heat. Monsters. outside.
Well, you know, this used to be a school. Those are the teachers, the kids locked in the basement.
Okay, now we can move on to the town planner report. Doug, what gems do you have for us?
Well, we have not gotten, anything back from Ty and Bond yet on subdivision regulations, but we know they'll do it, they'll come through. So once that happens, all that's left is final editing and proofreading and public hearing, and that'll be good to go. Economic stuff, let's see, what's going on there? We, have the branding consultant, and she will be with us, I think it's into April. March or April. And so they've issued an RFP for a designer for coming up with the things that the project is about, the new town seal, that would be standardized and reproducible, digitally. Let's see, what else? Wayfinding, that's another part of the project. Coming up with consistent imagery. So that's happening. And I had written that Maud's contract ends in April. Fortunately, I'm wrong. It ends in the end of June fiscal year. So she'll be with us a couple months longer. But boy, that's something we wish we could keep around. She is efficient, intelligent, outgoing, just a lot of good stuff right there. We have contacted with a cultural district manager. She is just beginning. She's a local resident. And that is based on the premise that we will get a cultural district designation from the state this year. We couldn't do it last year because whatever their program was in needing people or something. They didn't offer the designation last year, so. With that, we should be able then, they'll provide small amounts of money for events and things like that. So the manager will be kind of bringing things together and coordinating people and activities and stuff. Let's see, what else is going on here?
What was the source of funding for the manager's job? Was that the APR money?
That's the remnant ARPA money that went to that. So that's why we had to get it all done in December, get it encumbered. So that's there, and ideally, money will come in from more grants to continue the work. And a couple other things. Let's see what's going on with the Creative Economy Committee. We met last night, and the project of making beautiful murals on the bins at the transfer station is coming along. They have 3 artists to choose from who presented, draft murals and their ideas and stuff. So one of those will get the big prize. So we'll have much more scenic bins when we go down to
So you're going to have more cultural appreciation of throwing your garbage into
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have, never mind. That'll be good. Anyway, and last year there was a photo contest. It was sort of a training and contest with 3 different categories: adults, children, teens, whatever. And the library is the primary sponsor of that. We had 2 local residents, Ed Como and Mark Lindholt, who did the coaching, the teaching, and the judging. And they're doing it again this year, so that's great. So it's being called Viewfinders, catchy name, and so look for that coming up. That'll get some publicity. Talking about zoning, Paul, the building inspector, and I were chatting about this because he is going to a lot of building inspector courses now on the whole accessory dwelling business. And we were thinking, well, it might be premature to change our bylaw until we know what's going to be required and allowed. So, you know, in the meantime, if any part of our bylaw conflicts with the new state law, the state law takes over. So, you might wanna hold off on that one. I've made a small list of a couple of other things we could address. And there's still time, but nothing major, just little tweaks to the schedule of uses or something like that. So I will try to get those to you. To consider, maybe we can talk about it at the next meeting.
Can I make a suggestion that, I like the idea of holding off until we know for sure what the February 2nd changes are gonna be.
Yeah.
But what I would suggest is that maybe we continue, as you're saying, continue with what we have, but if you and Paul put together like a little cheat sheet for us. It says, all right, as of February 3rd, it's no longer a special permit, it's this, or this portion of the bylaw needs to be redacted, or you can no longer ask them how, you know, whatever. So a little cheat sheet for us to get us through the interim time period between February 2nd and when in fact it would be formally changed.
Okay.
Will there be differences from what we were assuming that there will be?
Yeah.
Okay. That is, the things that we know are no longer
Well,
something
we,
that we can have in our
we know
bylaws.
it won't require a special permit.
It won't.
We know that the parking requirements have changed.
And then,
Will change. There's
owner
also
occupancy is not a factor.
owner occupancy is no longer going to be
Right.
a factor.
Right.
And then there's something else about the view or the perception of the single-family residential area being maintained, that can't be a nebulous type of
Yeah, they
requirement.
want something that very specifically
Right.
says, you know.
So we can't just sit here and say, well, I don't think that looks like I want it to look. So those are the kinds of things that we just need a guidance cheat sheet for us.
Sure. Okay. I'll see what he's been picking up and what we can put together. Anyway, yeah, other things, I have a little list scribbled out there upstairs, and okay, of course I can't think of what any of them are, but I'll give them to you.
The state version is only gonna allow one apartment. We had talked about this before, if somebody wanted to come back and do another one, or they wanted to do two initially, that's still gonna come back in as a special
The
permit.
second one would be, yes.
So our bylaw can be crafted to handle multiple units.
Yeah, I think that would be
If-
good.
Or
we could
we could just leave it as a limit of one
Of
only,
one only, could we do that?
that we would
Yeah,
not
well, that's
entertain
I'm
a
not sure
second.
about that. We'll have to look
So
at
I
that.
can't imagine it, any more fundamental change to a single-family housing residential area than to have one property with 3 or 4 units on it. I mean, that would really be a sea shift.
Yeah, it would, very much so, yeah. We have our new grants administrator, she comes in twice a week, and I think she is going to be a great help for a lot of us. She seems extremely thorough and organized. She is, she sort of gets excited about spreadsheets. And it's like, that's what we need, so Jackie and I are more than ready to say, here you go. Her name is Allison Bonvie. She lives in Turner's Falls, so that's why she's working from home 3 days a week. She's 27 hours, I believe. And the idea is that she'll be bringing in enough money to sort of cover her salary.
And her salary was paid for with the ARPA money also?
I believe not. I'm not exactly sure what she's getting paid for now. It might be that, but she's a full-time employee, so it's not a contract job. Then I suppose it'll be in the budget for next year, I'm not quite sure.
Will it be in the budget contingent upon bringing in self-sustaining grants, or is it gonna be in the budget?
I don't know.
For-
I mean, it's kind of too soon to say you haven't brought in enough money. She just
Yeah.
started, and they're going to finalize the budget in the next couple of months. So, so unless she reels in something huge,
Yeah.
then
I think that was the intent, was to start it with ARPA and then it'd be self-sustaining.
maybe that's it. Yeah, that sounds like it makes sense. The Ware Road Solar Project, they are itching to get going, and they are in the process of paying our legal bills for what's been accrued so far. And so the intent there is that we can finally work out this bond issue. So we'll see where that goes. That's about the only thing delaying them right now. And I'm encouraging them strongly, if at all possible, to start clearing trees and stuff during the winter, so before all the nesting critters get started for the year.
They can't start the tree clearing until the bond is available though, right? Because that is a condition of their special permit, and
Yeah,
the clearing of the trees is tied into the special permit also?
well,
Or is that under a separate authority from the Conservation Commission?
I don't know, if I buy a piece of property and I don't have my building permit yet, is there something stopping me from cutting trees?
The Conservation Commission?
Well, if I'm just cutting a small amount and I'm not in a wetland.
And you're not a wetland.
I don't think this is a
It's
small
small.
amount.
It's not a
It's
small
not, it's
amount.
not, I know, but I'm just, it would be best, so it'd be best to resolve this whole bond issue, so they can get going on that. And that would be good. There was the big land transaction recently, to Lime Timber, and I think, it's best just to leave it at that, because we don't know what the plans are. And what's gonna finally happen with it. But for now, we'll just say Lime Timber Company is the property owner. And I poked around on their website and read some stuff about them, and that they're in the business of buying forest land to protect it and keep it either as conservation or as sustainably managed forests. So it's not gonna be developed.
How much of that was in Belchertown, about 1,000 acres?
It was, no, more, closer to 200, 2,000.
2,000 was in
Yeah.
Belchertown.
In Belchertown, it was
Yeah.
1,100 though, wasn't it?
In Belchertown, it was like 800 or 900 east of Gulf Road, and another.
Two.
No, it had to be more than 200 on your side, west of
Yeah,
Gulf Road.
I thought the
I think it's like 400 or
total
500.
was 1,100 acres
Oh, maybe
in
that's it.
Belchertown,
Okay, maybe,
with
yeah, you're probably
900
right.
in, on the
Yeah, another 900.
Blue
in
Wave.
Pelham,
section and the
Yeah,
other.
you're right, yeah, okay.
The 500 acres that went to the Nipmuc Indians recently, where was that?
Sunderland on Mount Toby.
Okay.
Is it on Mount Toby, or
Yeah.
isn't it on Bull Hill Road?
Well, it's in that
Yeah,
range,
yeah.
Mount Toby range, not on the peak itself, but yeah. So, yeah, anyway, yeah. That went to the Nipmucs, and that apparently, according to the press, was a donation, so.
According to the Registry of Deeds as well.
Oh, there you go, so. But I do think it'll be possible to bring the New England Trail back to where the old Metacomet Natoc Trail used to go up through Hall and Glen and out to Gulf Road that way. Instead, right now, you come down to Federal Street and you gotta walk along Federal Street and walk up Gulf Road because the previous property owner didn't want a federal government designated trail on her property, so. That's no longer an issue. So people can walk in the woods instead of on the road now. Soon, anyway. The community plan facilities section, community facilities, that is wrapping up. You had Kyle here once before, earlier last year, and he will come to present the final plan. And then, assuming you're happy, you can vote to adopt it as the new section of the town's community plan, the master plan. And the other part of that project is this idea of having an interactive sort of website, or at least a website where you'd have an index of the sections of the plan, and you could have links to them and maybe some cross-referencing. That might be too ambitious for what this type of funding is for. And we're going to have to look for some local volunteers perhaps who are knowledgeable about websites, but maybe PVPC will want to participate, because I think once this is designed, it's something they could offer all the communities. And, so I think that's appealing to them. Anyway, send in an application for that part of it. We'll see what comes out of it. Lake Wallace Trail, the Sensory Trail work is continuing, and I haven't gone and looked at it in about 2 or 3 weeks, but I know it's coming along, and there shouldn't be that much left. They want to do the major water stuff in the winter, so maybe they're out there doing those things now, and maybe they can take advantage of some ice. That would be helpful, because what they did for the first platform is he's able to drive his tractor onto the ice and just drill the holes into the lake bed through the ice to screw in the piers, which is kind of handy. The other part, not the Sensory Trail, but the part I'm working on now, goes from where the trail stops behind Crispy's, and you can walk around the pond. You follow that, then you intersect with the snowmobile trail along the west side, and then you can break off the snowmobile trail, cross the Bull Dam, and back to Foley Field. And so that's the route we want the next chunk of this plan to take. And I'm calling that one the Lake Wallace Woods Trail, because it's not going to be fully accessible. Too much terrain there, but we're going to build, right now there are 2 kind of very informal wetland crossings that are in the water. They're laying on the ground. They're basically just old like railroad ties or something that are lumped together. We're going to replace those with proper bridges that'll hold snowmobiles, and then reroute the trail a little bit to get away from State Street and some of the noise. And other than that, improve the surface. So I'm in the process of applying for a Mass Trails grant for that. And Kestrel Land Trust will assist substantially, and I'd like to get the Snowmobile Club as a participant, because we're kind of building things to meet their standards. So, and it has been their trail for many, many years. They maintain it, so there's that. And then I've managed to find myself on the state's, what are we calling this? Trail Access Working Group. The Mass Office of Outdoor Recreation was created a couple of years ago, and so this comes under them. And it's to sort of promote universal accessibility on trails, and I'll find out more as we get into it. So that's going to be about 6 to 8 meetings, I think, I've been told, over the years. So that's manageable. So next meeting we'll have Kyle from PVPC on the Community Facilities Plan, and Doug will make zoning suggestions. Okay, I'm done.
You're working on our annual report.
Oh yeah, I did do that too. Thank you for reminding me. I'll have that. That's usually pretty easy. Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Thanks.
No, did you have anything you'd like to share with the board tonight? No, anything you'd like to share with the board tonight? Michael, is there anything you'd like to share?
The state had the video on, or Zoom meeting on the new ADUs, requirements, and all that. I attended that, it was very interesting.
Okay.
I'm done.
Well, I'll go listen to that. That's all the news I have.
Nothing here, thank you.
I was supposed to bring in the new tax classification report that the board had, and I forgot. So I'll get a scanned copy over to Doug so that could get onto the agenda, and a copy made for everybody
Yes.
at the next meeting. My apologies on that.
Yeah.
I wanted to just mention that there was a meeting here last week of the Finance Committee, the Select Board, and the School Committee. They're talking about the next budget cycle. And one of the areas the conversation went into was how to, other than the principal idea of how we're gonna make the budget fit the income that's available to the town, with the school department was sort of pushing the idea that the town should be a little bit more aggressive about growing its income in order to meet the school's needs, instead of the school meeting what the income expectations of the town is going to be, and just making, everybody having to make do with it. The budget should be expanded. And so there was some talk about how the town is trying to increase the business taxation and business income that's going to be available. So I'm assuming that some of that's going to come our way.
Yeah.
That one of the things, the areas that people principally think about when they think about increasing business income is town planning.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure how we would address that, because it's a matter of zoning, and the only way we could make more business income available is to convert more property into business zoning.
Yeah.
And yet, whenever we've tried that in the past, that hasn't been a very popular topic of conversation. People don't like to see residential areas converted into business.
Right.
Because then you're gonna end up with people in houses and having businesses move in near them with the traffic and noise and lights and everything, so they consider it an invasion of their property interests. And it's all the town has been zoned in one form or another. I'm not too sure where we're gonna look for that, and it would also involve us looking at a master plan again, which is a large endeavor. Because instead of just spot zoning, a few pieces here and there, the other approach would be, well, how can we comprehensively look at the town in order to identify areas that have utilities available, have traffic patterns available, and are going to be conducive to zoning that's going to then attract businesses so we can increase our income. And that's something that hasn't been done in Belchertown in a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm not too sure what the appetite is in our own town management. I haven't heard really anything from the select board about how they want to work with us collaboratively to meet that expectation of generating more income.
Yeah. I mean, over the years, I keep hearing that. It's like, we need more income, we need more business, we need more business property. And as you said, every time we've tried to rezone areas, I'm not against business, I'm in favor of it. This is just not a good spot. It happens all the time.
But I think you could look at the work that's been done around the state school property and the consolidation of the various zoning there.
Yeah.
You can look at the attempt that was made on the Nefsey property down on Jackson. You can look at the contractor's yard changes from schedule of use
Yeah.
applicability. And that's three good solid examples of at least something that you and our board have tried
Yeah.
to make it more business friendly. We can't drag them in here and force them, but we can do these kinds of things.
Yeah, and we've been doing that.
And we have been doing that, and I would certainly proudly point to those 3 examples in the recent past.
Yeah, we rezoned a few areas right around Raymond Drive in the north, and then down this way around Henry Drive on State Street, where there's now a nice little cluster of businesses there. So, a few spots ahead, but yeah, it's tough to get done.
Well, maybe that's something you could, in your spare time, think about, you know, while you're hobnobbing with your fellow wizards, is what areas we might consider doing some spot zoning work on, you know, to make some, at least minor attempts at increasing property that's capable of supporting a business classification and might be attractive to be sold for those purposes.
Well, even in the annual report, you may want to mention the contractor's yard and, you know, immediately had somebody jump in and say, yeah, I want to keep my business here.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily new business to the town, but it is a foundation, a solidification,
Keeps it in town.
keeps it in town.
That might be a good idea to have some section in the annual report
Yeah.
talking about what efforts that the town has made to try to attract new business
Yeah,
and new taxation,
and retain
you know,
business.
for doing that.
Oh, and we did see in the discussion around the Brissa proposal that rental units wind up being adding to the tax.
Oh, yeah,
And
they do. Well,
Since-
the biggest taxpayers in town are the apartments.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a way in which residential can,
The burden on the individual homeowner.
yeah.
Well, I don't know, I don't want to use any words that are too descriptive. One of the things that was suggested was more single-family housing, which I think is counterproductive
It is very counterproductive, yeah.
in terms of the revenues that come in and then the costs to the town providing services, but it is a quick fix, and when people are desperate, they start thinking about
Yeah.
But if it's,
fixes.
if this is all, this discussion is prompted by the situation in the schools, that's also going to push for expanding schools too, so,
I guess so.
very complicated.
It is
Math.
complicated, but when you're talking about making cuts in the school system again, tempers are gonna rise, and it's gonna become a heated conversation, and I know that idea is gonna come up again, so anything that we could try to do proactively to say, well, look, we're doing our part,
Yeah.
and to the extent that we can. You mentioned Lamson Brook. The Lamson Brook Committee is going to be meeting on January 28th on Zoom.
Yeah.
If anybody's interested in hearing what's going on with
Yeah.
the farm portion of the old state school, I'm gonna be all ears, because that group has not met now for 6 or 7 months.
Met once last year, and that was the first time in, I think, over a year.
Not a lot of activity seems to be happening
Yeah.
down there,
Well,
and
I'm looking forward to an update.
So
Well,
what's the date? Can you say that
the
again?
28th.
28th.
Oh dear, where would they? The meeting is posted on the town website. It is in there on the
Yeah,
agenda.
28th, just before the planning board meetings, so it's at
But you gotta,
4 o'clock.
but you have to write to the administrator of the meeting and get a code, yeah, to get into the meeting. Why you need to have a code to get into a public meeting and then make it open to the public? Because, well, everybody can come and the code is open, but why do you need the code? I don't know.
When
Maximum
What
number?
happened a few times when this whole thing was starting, they got Zoom bombed by some pretty creepy unpleasant people.
How does the code stop that? You can get the code, it's still Zoom bound, can't you?
Maybe just by the effort of sending an email instead of just some random person showing up, you know.
20 creepy people could walk through the door right now
Well, it's
and
good.
sit in these
It's
chairs.
good. But
That's, when you say open to the public,
it's open to the public,
It's
I
open to the
understand,
public.
but,
The creepiness you're speaking of is a little,
you know, these are people who probably type in random meeting numbers on,
Yeah.
on Zoom and they don't care who they crash.
Well, I put forth that area where New England Small Farm Institute now, even if we want to preserve it for agriculture and associated businesses, still has some economic potential that might benefit the whole town. It was part of the old state school, and I think the town has just as much vested interest in it.
Okay.
Really, what happens to it is they did what happens to the state school.
Oh, of course.
It's close by, it's on the sewer
Yeah,
and on water.
yeah.
So it does have some potential down there, and if we're talking about economic development, that should be an important area of economic
Yeah.
development for the town, and yet it's languishing
It is.
with the state
Yeah.
and with the Lamson Brook Committee. It doesn't seem like,
No,
Anything is
kind of-
happening.
It's kind of plugged up at the state level.
yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
no, I'll wait until after the meeting and save my questions for then. The meeting for the Lamson Brook
With
folks.
Lamson Brook?
Yeah.
Okay, it's 8:00, I wanted to get out of here as quickly as possible. I didn't set any records, but unless anybody has anything else to say, take a motion to adjourn.
second,
I made a motion to adjourn. It's seconded by Mr. Hoffler. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to recommend 500. Mary Ann, you can turn the meeting off, and we're all set. Thank you.